Hello and welcome back to Willow Talk, or welcome to Willow Talk. If this is your first, Adam Peacock alongside Brad Haddin. Bradley, welcome back.
It's good to be back. This big bash is heating up. I'm looking forward to our chat today, though. We've heard a lot from him this summer. The Australian public are really starting to enjoy him, especially out west. He's Sam Billings, and not always, not ever actually, we're talking about the Thunder in the finals.
It's an incredible set of circumstances and incredible to look at that big bash ladder at the moment. We'll have a look at it a bit later in the show. As you mentioned, Sam Billings, the Englishman, joining us on Willow Talk, but he's got a few stories about his time in Australia, in particular his crossover with Pat Cummins as well from his time playing grade cricket over a decade ago. So some gold on the way there. We're going to hear, speaking of gold, one of my favourite cricketers anywhere in the world at the moment, Alana King. You look at it a couple of days ago in Melbourne, the art of leg spin bowling was on show down there, just in the southeast of Melbourne with what she did against England. A dramatic women's Ashes game in that one. So we'll sum up that. You would have caught that through the week, Hads?
What I did catch about that is the English, Ashes, and a leg spinner. Never a good mix.
No, never a good mix, and a bit of a brain explosion. I want you. We've got Hads to put his thinking cap on, or thinking trucker cap on, to recall a brain explosion he's either seen or been involved with in terms of tactically, because England certainly got inside the conversation in that regard through the week. We've got Sundries as well. We've got a bit to talk about, so let's rip in. Remember to send in your club's cricket hat for us to wear on the show. The more exotic, the better. All the mailing details in the episode notes. Bucket hats, by the way, even though they might be a bit difficult with headphones on, gladly accepted, just to put it out there, especially for people whose head doesn't suit trucker hats. Also, drop us a message on Instagram or TikTok and leave us a comment on Spotify, like the following. R. Jeffries 963 says, love the pod, easily in my top 3 that I listen to as soon as a new episode drops. I wonder who the other two are. Do you listen to other pods, Hads, aside from sporting ones or cricket ones?
Yeah, I listen to Rugby League Talk with you and the Fanatics one with the tennis. Who hosts
not the one with Glenn Boss and the horse racing? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I tried that, but your tips were no
What's wrong
good.
with you? No, I don't tip. Absolutely don't tip. Gamble responsibly. Andrew says, in relation to the potential 2-tier test setup, bring back August-September top-end series for Australia to play lower-ranked full members. Well, we've kind of got that this year, Hads. Oddly enough, it hasn't really hit the radar, but we're playing South Africa in some white ball cricket up there in somewhere in northern Australia. I dare say Far North Queensland and Darwin would be the options. You play up there?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of tours up there, actually. I had an Australian A tour up there, which was a great fishing tour. Cricket tour. It was a great cricket tour.
Andrew Simons.
Yeah, up there. But it's a great part of the world. And I know Darwin are doing some good things with cricket. They're trying to own the winter. They're trying to get a lot of the young cricketers from state cricket up there to play. The facilities are great. The weather's obviously perfect that time of the year. And I know teams, I think, from South Australia, I think Victoria are doing it also, are sending 2020 teams up to play in the competition. So it's a great opportunity for kids that want to taste like high-quality cricket in the winter rather than going over to the UK. So, yeah, they're trying to own the top end. But, yeah, I've played a couple of games and a couple of series up there. It's a good fun. It's a great tour to get out on the boat, do a bit of fishing, as long as you don't get in there with the crocs. It's good fun.
Yeah, it's probably not advisable. So
Actually,
it's coming Darwin's. What?
I think it was Matthew Mott. And I know Matthew Mott's a friend of the show. And I reckon he was coaching New South Wales and we did a tour up there. And he was doing a recovery session. He sent the boys out in the water. And I think a local said to him, what are you doing out there? That's like croc infested. He goes, it's all right. This bit, it's got... And the sign had fallen over. Do not swim. Look out for crocs. And I think it's Matty Mott was coaching. We'll get him to confirm. But I think he sent the boys out there for a swim to recover. But, mate, it's lucky they all got back. The sign had fallen over.
Sign got realised. You would have seen some quick land speed records out of the water.
Steve Rickson did this to it as well over in Perth. I remember we played a a Shield game leading into a one-dayer, so he sent us to Cottesloe for recovery. And I remember the team all took off and jumped in, and that's when all the shark attacks were over there. And he looked to his left, and I was still sitting there with a $50 note. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Isn't the first offence for being late or missing a session 50? Then you had a chocolate wheel for second and third." I said, "Mate, there you go." I said, "I'm not getting in there." And I sat on the beach and spoke to Stumper. I was not getting in there.
Too smart. On Instagram, Jamison has slid into our DMs as well. He says, 6-month anniversary, listening to Willow Talk. Oh, happy anniversary, Jamison. Far and away my favourite cricket podcast, starting with a W. Looking forward to Had's all-time New Zealand 11.
Oh, well, you know what, Jamison? Thank you for the 6 months anniversary, and we will celebrate that with a nice cold beer. But you know what? Sometimes in anniversaries, you get a stinking present from your partner. And this is going to be one of those occasions. You are not going to see an all-time Kiwi team from me.
Bulldust, we're going to get one out of you. And I know who the captain is. B. McCullum. Absolute lock for captain. Your favourite Kiwi. Finally, producer Sam, come in. You got a special shout-out for us that you picked up in all places at an Uber.
Well, I've got 2 shout-outs. First of all is Jake on Instagram. It's his birthday on Wednesday, so happy birthday, Jake. Big fan of the show, always DMs us. We really appreciate it. Willow Talk Podcast if you want to DM us on Instagram and TikTok. And this morning there's industrial train action here in Sydney, and I was battling to get to Willow Talk on time. So I jumped in an Uber with a guy who was named Max. So shout out to Max. He big cricket fan. Had only been listening to The Great Cricketer, a great podcast, but I've got him onto Willow Talk, the #1 sports podcast in Australia. So, Max, thanks for the lift, mate, and enjoy Willow Talk.
Yeah, welcome, Max. Welcome one, welcome all. Let's get into Willow Talk right now and catch up with our special guest. Joining us now, Hads, is, part of the Keeper Union, a man that there was a little crossover once upon a time with yourself and our guest, Sam Billings from the Sydney Thunder. And you are hearing this correctly. It hasn't always been the case in the last couple of years. The finals-bound Sydney Thunder. Sam, how are you, mate?
Very well. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it sounds even better. Obviously, the Thunder getting back into finals, long overdue, but it's been a great year so far. So looking forward to those final stages.
I tell you what, Adam, when I looked at today's guests, I got excited because what Bilbo's brought to the Thunder this year. I know he's a premiership winner at the Heat. And then I started to think back. At the back end of my career, we crossed over. And I was looking at the rundown, I'm thinking, I could incriminate myself here because we had a couple of good years. We had a year at Islamabad. The first year we won that, Bilbo. That was good fun. We had the Sixers time. But, mate, boy, as things change now. And the Thunder, I'm enjoying the attitude you boys are bringing this year. It's different. It's a different Thunder this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, David Warner is the main character, I suppose, behind that. You obviously know him as well as anyone, and the attitude that he's always brought towards his cricket. I think he's in a different stage of his life as well, where, obviously out of international cricket, he's got a point to prove with his leadership and coming in, and around the group, it's been phenomenal. He's incredibly positive and backs up his players to the hilt. So, yeah, it's been the main driving force behind that is definitely him. And then obviously other senior guys, Chris Green, I think he's also elevated from not having the strain of captaincy and being able to be a senior player and enjoying his cricket again. I think you're seeing the best of him. And other guys are really stepping up. So, I think it's a really positive thing. And it's amazing how environments can just change with a couple of little tweaks. The ingredients can be always there. And it's just about, just changing a few little things.
And Bilbo, for you, why the Thunder? Because you had a successful year at the Heat. You won the comp. So it would have been easy to stay there. You got a relationship, obviously, with the Thunder before. But why the change?
Well, they didn't want me.
That's not true.
Initially, obviously the rules changed with overseas players around making one pre-signing and kind of in good faith. it was amazing that Trent got on the phone straight away as soon as that window opened, and we had a brilliant chat, kind of for his vision of where the Thunder can get to and the role he wanted me to play. And yeah, in good faith, I'll be completely honest. I was really transparent with the Heat and said, you know, the last 2 years has been phenomenal, and we wanted to give you kind of first reply, I suppose, and give them first option. But they were in a position where they couldn't offer me anything. They didn't have a head coaching position at the time. And yeah, I said, well, yeah, I'm going to have to take this other offer. So that was kind of how it played out. And I have a natural affinity to Western Sydney anyway. Western Sydney boy, as you know, Hads. Penrith through and through.
True.
But yeah, the 2 years I had at the Thunder, I felt like we weren't actually that far away from it either. So it's nice to come back to somewhere where I know pretty well. And obviously Trev Bayliss is, I'm very close with him from his time in England, and you know him really well as well. And so that relationship, it was a natural fit.
Sam, just like looking at who you've played for, you've been around a bit. Willow Talk has this thing about number of tracksuits collated, and I think you're a clubhouse leader here. I'm looking at about 30.
Yes.
I think you've played for. But in all seriousness, in the modern day, with franchise players bouncing around the world, how does a group come together? Because it's pretty obvious the Thunder have come together pretty well as a group. You come from different states, different parts of the world. What's the ice-breaking protocol? Is it a night out where you get blind and you all tell each other how much you love each other and you have a laugh about it in the days after? Is it a singing night, a karaoke night? What was that, Hats?
That's Bilbo. That's how he
What is it? How do you get on the same page?
I think it differs environment to environment, and the leadership, whether it's the coach or the captain, different places have different ways of doing it. I think certainly around training, I mean, Davey said it in one of our chats the other day. He used to hate training and going to training and the monotony of it. And he said he's loving the vibe around training. And even though if you don't do much or you don't need to do much and you just play kind of soccer volleyball and you just get around the lads, it's more building it off field that then translates onto field, and what you can give to the environment, and making that very clear that, you know, it's an environment where you have to give to the group as opposed to kind of taking away. Like you're right. I think social stuff, like during the 100, Tom Moody, who's been our coach, we have a social committee, and a big dinner is always the way we kind of kick things off with a fines meeting and just welcoming everyone in. And it's things like that you allow people to relax in the environment, not around cricket. It's getting to know people off field, because I think that really translates onto field as well.
The thing I've noticed most, and I go back, you said Trent Copeland before, since he's taken over as general manager.
Pants.
What I've liked, he's got to fix his pants, you're right, they're too short. But that's trendy these days. What I've noticed is you have to recruit well. You have to recruit not only talent, but a style of person. And I think they've done really well with Lockie Ferguson, yourself. You've obviously got Davey in there. You look like you're a group of players that this year want to walk into the fire rather than go, I'll wait till this just settles down a bit, then I'll walk around the side and hope I get to the other side. It looks like you brought an attitude to just go straight into the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the difference between the top players, like obviously you have the top 1% of players in any sport, which are kind of anomalies, but I reckon the difference between the really top guys and the next level down is very, very minimal. It comes down to character and finding that right fit for the group. I think the talent pool around for T20 cricket around the world, you've got so many players you could fill those roles, but actually the character fit is just as important. And like you said, Lockie Ferguson was phenomenal. I think he's one of the best bowlers in the world, but just around the group as well. He didn't necessarily say too much, but in the way he acted and the way he kind of looks after himself, he really set an example to everyone, and not only the bowlers. And I think that is infectious, really. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say, you've got some younger players who need that as well, like the example setters. But it brings us to one rather topical younger player. So how was the Thunder player group chat on Boxing Day around about midday when a certain gentleman with a cool haircut and a pretty good attitude decided to ramp Jasprit Bumrah at the MCG?
It went off. It went off. It was ridiculous, actually, because it was like, yeah, I probably can't say the colourful language that was used, especially by David Warner, but it was something like "effing told you so" or whatever. That's my boy or something. But it's great, and I think perception is one thing, obviously in the public eye, and people are saying, "Oh, look at this 19-year-old kid getting above his station a little bit." He is one of the most genuine, down-to-earth, hard-working young lads, and he is just loving every moment. I think there's other characters who could probably do stuff that he's been doing, and you'd probably think, "Oh, that is just him." He is just he's a wonderful young man, and yeah, good luck to him. To have the courage to go out and play like that against the best bowler in the world, in arguably the biggest day in cricket in the year, yeah, that takes character. And like you said, around the Thunder, he's just added to that as well. And yeah, as an Englishman, I want him to get runs next year. I just obviously want England to win.
Not too many.
Yeah, exactly. Not too many.
And the standard of the competition, you've been all around the world, as we said. How does the Big Bash stand?
I think it's very similar to England in that when the England players come back or the Australian players come back, it changes the dynamic. And it's a real shame that obviously the international players, some have left and then the Aussie guys come back. I think if you combine the two, it would be right up there. I think that's what the struggle is with all competitions around the world at the moment. But it's certainly a different type of cricket, very different to the T20 Blast at home and the 100, where the scores are a lot higher. I think it takes a lot more batsmanship here, adapting to different venues, where, playing at the Optus or Brisbane is completely different to playing at NG Stadium or the SCG, so you have to really adapt. Sorry, that's my little one waking up from a nap. So, yeah, I think yeah, exactly. So the standard, I think the standard's right up there. But the style of cricket is probably more around the conversation. It is probably more topic of conversation as opposed to standard.
Yeah, the little one can join us for the conversation if he or she wants. But
she probably offers more than me anyway.
No, all good. What about on the field with David Warner and how you are discussing what is going on? Because T20, as we know, and this is why the play mic is so good, because we as punters at home would never be out there at a top-level game, get to understand the decisions that need to be made in a split second. So those conversations, probably Chris Green's involved as well, given his leadership capabilities, maybe others. But how do you go about conversing out there? Has it been natural, or is it something you actually work on before you go out there, if you know what I mean, tactically?
Yeah, we played with each other, Davey and I, at Dubai Capitals last year as well. So that dynamic has always it's already been there. It's gauging the situation as well. Like, if you're not captain, it's understanding when to give the information, because you definitely don't want to give too much information. He's played enough cricket to know what he wants to do. But I think wicket keeping is the best thing. Certainly, if, like, a great example the other night, if the ball's ragging and it's a difficult wicket, as a wicket keeper, you have the best place best seat in the house to make informed decisions. So those matchups and in terms of bowling spin, obviously the Perth Scorchers didn't bowl their full quota of spin the other night, and maybe that's something that Finn Allen probably maybe didn't voice his opinion. So things like that, I think the wicketkeeper plays a massive role, as Hads probably agrees, is that you need to be able to give those information. It's just about knowing when and where to give that.
Well, the Big Bash career, it started a lot of careers, but it actually started your Test career. You got your opportunity to play Test cricket out of your performance in the Big Bash. How did that come about?
A lot of driving.
They were desperate. Yes,
that's a bit harsh.
No, it's so playing for the Thunder up in Brisbane, and I think it's well reported that I've done a few drinks duties over my time, and I got a phone call after I was due to fly to Dubai to play in the ILT20 after our Big Bash, and got a call on the way to the airport going, "Oh, you need to get down to Sydney. Joss has gone home, and you're gonna keep and play, or you're gonna be in the squad for the last Test match." I mean, it was a test tour from hell. The boys were hating it. They're getting smashed every week, and it was pretty brutal. So I said, like, pretty bluntly, I was like, "Oh, that's great, but am I going to play?" Because I'd done so much running the drinks. So I said, "Look, if I'm guaranteed to play, I'm there." And they said, "Yeah, you're in. You're going to play." Fantastic. I said, "I'll just book me the next flight. I'll get down there." They were like, "No, it's COVID. You can't. You'll have to drive and get a rental car and drive all the way down from Brisbane down to Sydney, do 2 days of quarantine, and then fly across with the team." And I was coming from a bubble that had 0 cases, and the England bubble themselves had 5 cases or something. So it made absolutely no sense, but worth it. It was still, Test cricket is still the pinnacle of my career. Probably not necessarily that Test match. Making your debut is great, but the Test win we had against India at Edgbaston, like, that was my last Test, but it was single-handedly the best cricketing experience that I've had, and I would love to have obviously had the opportunity to play more, but just wasn't to be. And it was very, very special.
Do you look at it now, how they play under Brendan McCullum, and go, given your ability is along those lines, and go, I've missed out on something here? Or you just, as a cricketer, you just have to let it go quickly because there's always another day?
I'll be honest, I'm probably the happiest I've ever been in terms of my cricket, and the most content I've been with my cricket, because, like, as I kind of alluded to around playing for England and being around those England squads for so long, being in and out and being a fringe player, one regret is probably I didn't enjoy it as much as I would have liked. Just the sense of belonging and being a part of, being a real main part of any team. I think that's when you get the most fulfillment from. And that was probably my only regret. I don't regret, the timing. I've been in an era where we've had Johnny Bairstow and Joss Butler, 2 of England's kind of best ever cricketers, and they happen to be wicket keepers. So it's just one of those things. And like I said, I'm very content with where I'm at the moment.
But are you an English wicket keeper who likes to play attacking shots, who actually stays in his crease? It's a fair question. We're never going to let it go.
If I say anything, it'll probably go viral one way or the other, and I'll be popular one way or the other. And,
leave it.
I mean, it was out, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
I tried it the other night. I was trying to run Jacob Bethel out the other night. The same thing. So
good.
I'm in the right country for it anyway.
Yes, exactly. You get applauded, don't you, Hads, doing that?
Oh, mate, I took my hats off. Mate, that was great stuff. But, Bill, I was looking through some of your teams, and what's taken off in the UK is the 100. And you've been more successful than most. You've captained the Invincibles twice, 2 years in a row, a title. Can that work here in Australia, do you think, or is Big Bash product big enough?
Really good question. I think the format itself, I was a skeptic. I'll be completely honest. I was very skeptical at the start. I was like, why do we need another format? The great thing about it brings bowlers back into the game. If you're on top, you can bowl those back-to-back overs or sets, and the rate can quickly turn around in favour. And the game definitely seesaws a lot more. I think sometimes with T20, because of the structured nature of it, it can probably peter out a little bit into an easy win. Yeah, I think it's a unique product. Whether it's going to spread around the world, I'm not so sure. T20 is so entrenched, and I think everyone would have to take it on, as opposed to just kind of a couple of countries here and there. And I think T20 is just too entrenched. But I would like to see maybe that back-to-back overall come into T20. I think that's a really good addition from a tactical point of view to the game.
Talking about taking it on, how big is this Ashes going to be?
Massive in that I think it's probably a different cycle. It's a really interesting cycle for both teams. You'll see a lot of players, it's probably their last Ashes series, and they'll want to go out with, from a big point of view. So your Australian team in home conditions, I can't look too far past them, if I'm honest. They're so strong here. They know how to win here. It'll be interesting to see how England go. The Kookaburra ball definitely suits playing more attackingly compared. You've seen Travis Head do it for a long time now. Yeah. So you can play more free flowing against that Kookaburra ball. It's just against that pace attack. Joshie Hazlewood's picking up a few more injuries now. The guys are getting a little bit older. You might see. It's just a shame you've got Scott Boland in reserve, who's as good as anyone. So, it'll be interesting. Your fitness is gonna play a huge part in that series, I think. But Jacob Bethel, we saw last night what he can do, and those young players coming through. Jacob Bethel and Harry Brook are two to watch. I think Harry Brook could literally be a star for the next 10, 15 years. He's a freak, absolute freak. He's one of the best young players I've seen in a long time.
And Harry came out here early in his career, didn't he, to kind of have a season, a bit like yourself. So you mentioned earlier Penrith. Did you cross over with Patty Cummins, or is this when Patty was in his 3-year professional cricketer hiatus of being a professional studier because his poor back couldn't get good?
Well, amazingly, his back was good enough to score more runs for Penrith than me. He played as a batter. He got 100. It was funny, on my test debut down at Hobart, the morning I was meant to bat, and he sent me the scorecard and highlighted his score of 110 not out, and I got a 5-ball duck or something. He was like, "Same again today, please, champ." Champ me as well. Unbelievable. So, he's a great fella. We became great mates from that Penrith time, and luckily during the week, I'd stay out in Penrith, train, coach kind of the Green Shield and stuff, train Tuesday, Thursdays, play on the Saturday. And if we had a game in the city, he was living with Harry Conway in his place in Clovelly back in the day. And then they had a spare room as well. So I'd crash there sometimes after a night out on a Saturday. So he's a great man, and obviously, been friends for quite a long time and played a lot against each other now.
So you're saying all this wonderful family curated stuff, and you move on, you mature in life, but you know a few things that those Instagram posts don't.
No comment. I think we're both past 30 and got kids now. So back in his heyday, he was 20 years old, and he was living kind of the Sam Constas poster boy era.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Loves it.
Last one, mate, before we let you go, because that child of yours has been very patient, a little bit noisy, and that's fair if they're waking up after a sleep or whatever. But one of our favourite questions here at Willow Talk: hardest player you've ever faced in the nets?
In the nets, Jofra Archer's got to be up there. Ooh, or Mark Wood. Mark Wood's tried to kill me a few times.
Yuck.
Yeah, we butt heads a little bit sometimes, and it was quite funny. Well, he's from the northeast, I'm from the southeast, polar opposites, and it's always a good contest with Woody, and good laugh afterwards. So Mark would have to be up there.
One in particular?
Uses his full out. One in South Africa. I can't remember. We're doing 12th man for the Lions, and we're training during the lunch break. And we went out the back at Potchefstroom, I think it was. Potchefstroom. And the crease, I think as a bowler, you have to bowl behind the crease. Well, he didn't get the memo that day and used his full allocation, if not more, of bouncers. So So yeah, that was spicy. That was definitely one that I remember.
Sounds like a right laugh.
Well, you know what? I can understand where he's coming from there. I remember everyone talks about the great series in 2005 Ashes. The whole country, England, everyone was involved. Michael Vaughan, captain beautifully, Flintoff. And I was there the whole time and didn't play. I was petrified for 1 month because Sean Tate was trying to get into the team. They used Brad Hodge as the spare fielder, and I was the wicketkeeper, spare batter. I remember Tatey hit me in the head at knots. The ball came off the side net, hit the pole, and came back and hit me in the head. He had no radar. But as 12th man, and you've done it a lot too, Bilbo, it's not an enjoyable time to bat when blokes are trying to get picked in the test team. Mate, Tatey was a nightmare, real mature.
Oh, give you nightmares as well. They probably ramp it up even more, don't they? So, it's everyone feels faster in the nets as well, claustrophobic and faster. So, yeah, not ideal.
Sam, we'll leave it there, mate. Really appreciate your time on Willow Talk, juggling parental duties as well. Not easy. That's one of the hardest things to do, actually, when you're trying to do something virtually and also have something realistically over the back of the camera, trying to take your mind off things. So, well held, well done, and mate, good luck in the next week or so with the Sydney Thunder. Hope it goes well for you.
Brilliant, thanks a lot. Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
There's an Englishman you can like, Hads. There you go.
Yeah, he's hard
Good
not
man.
to like Sam Billings. As I said, I was a bit nervous about Bilbo coming on because we crossed paths. Him at the start of his career, we played with Islamabad United together. When I retired, that was my last tour over there in the UAE, and we also crossed paths with the Sixers. So, mate, he's been very, very good this year on a number of fronts. Not only his performance on the field with the mic, but what he's brought to the Thunder. He's brought a winning attitude. And I think David Warner, mate, he's done some really good things there. He's a winner. He's a competitor in everything he does. Trent Copeland's done well there also. He's looked to recruit a different style of player at the Thunder, and it started to work. But Sam Billings has given them that bit of mongrel they needed. And now they're in the finals with the Sixers and the Thunder. But imagine the SCG Thunder Sixers final. Oh, that'd be a good one, Peacock.
Well, I bet you'll be there with bells on. What happens if Thunder, though, get the right to host? Do they play it at their home ground, or does Cricket Australia go, we want 20,000 extra in there, and we'll go and play it at SCG?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, and we know that the Big Bash product's about entertaining, bringing different people through the gate. You'd sell it out. You'd sell out both venues, but do you want to sell it out? Do they lose their home advantage? Or you have an extra 30,000 people there. But if I was a Thunder, I wouldn't want to take it away from their home wicket. They're starting to understand how to play. The win against the Scorchers was exactly how the Thunder need to play to be successful. Play their conditions well. Their three spinners were absolutely outstanding on that surface. So, yeah, I don't think the Thunder would like to move that away.
Yeah, that happened on Monday night, so that's where the Thunder locked in their finals position with a win over the Scorchers. Scorchers now probably going to miss the finals for just the third time in 14 years. You're allowed to have down years, but what has been the catalyst for this, for Perth?
Yeah, it's. I've just going back through their season. I think this was always going to happen to the Perth Scorchers. And I think the 4 was going to be. It's been a quite dramatic one this year. They've lost 4 in a row, and we haven't seen that ever. But it doesn't mean it's not a successful year. What's happened is we've seen a lot of their players be taken to Australia. We've seen Cooper Connolly debut. We've seen Josh Inglis travel around with the team. Jai Richardson, who was in the test squad for the last couple of tests, he's now gone in for surgery. But they've had a big turnover of players going into international cricket. So from that point of view, it's been successful. And even with the Champions Trophy team, Aaron Hardy's made his way into that after a lot of success they've had. Their recruitment was interesting. They haven't played. They've left Jennings out and Hurst, their 2 overseas signings. So maybe they got that wrong. But they're too good a franchise not to bounce back. They gave opportunities to some new players this year. And yeah, expect them to be bigger and better next year. But, they've been tested with their depth and their recruitment style this year.
Hobart Hurricanes, as we sit here right now, they're on top with 13 points after a win on Tuesday night. They beat the Renegades by 4 wickets with 2 balls remaining. Jacob Bethel starred for Melbourne Renegades with 87 from 50. But Matty Wade and Tim David, who the game before played an un-Tim David first 10-ball innings where he just had to knock it around and stay in and then build his own platform to launch, which he did. He started hitting balls out of on the roof and over the roof and everything like that. And again, he was a big part of this victory for the Hurricanes. Bit of an injury concern. Billy Stanley hurt his shoulder taking a really good catch. But why the Canes? How have the Canes got the balance so right this season to put themselves in this position?
Well, first and foremost, they've got a great bowling attack. I think the way they've recruited there, they've got Billy Stanley, who they've taken a chance on. He's been injured for some time. He's starting to get back into some sort of form. They've got Nathan Ellis and Chris Jordan, who are very, very experienced in this form of the game. Nathan Ellis, he's the most underrated cricketer in world cricket. The overs he bowls, he always bowls the tough overs. He's captain. Chris Jordan, similar. He knows how to get in and out of overs. And then you've got Riley Meredith, who's just getting better and better. He's brought a lot of skill to his game with change-ups. And the last couple of games, he's hit the radar gun at 150 Ks. I know Brett Lee's jumping out of his seat. So they've got a great mix there. They had Wacker, the left arm wrist spinner, which gave them something different during the middle. But Tim David has found a method that's worked. In the past couple of years, his Big Bash form hasn't mirrored up to how he's been playing overseas. But you talk about giving himself a couple of balls. What I've noticed in the last couple of games is he's coming just before the power surge, got himself in, used to conditions, then he goes. And once he goes in that power play with 2 out, it doesn't matter what happens after that when the fielders go out because he's got his eye and his power's second to none. I've heard him talk. Once he's got the rhythm of the pitch and he's got his swing right, it actually doesn't matter where the fielders are out because he can clear the boundary. But it's all come off the back of how he's been playing the lead up to the power surge and getting momentum through that where he's been brutal. But, yeah, they're a really, really well-drilled team.
Watching Tim David come in and try and knock it around is like it's akin to Eddie Murphy in his heyday doing stand-up and being told he can't swear. It's just like everything within him wants to just belt the ball. So it must be hard for a player like that where his natural game is literally to clear the rope. And yet what the team needs is something totally different. So you see him clunky, a little bit clunky, not classical forward defensive pushes into vacant areas to just get through for a single.
But what they've done well this year, they've recognised that. And I think in the past, we're wanting to play a certain style, work into your innings, accelerate as you go on, understand the game. But what they've done now is as soon as he's got used to the conditions, whether that 3 balls, 4 balls, they've taken the surge and let him loose. Those sort of guys I've seen in the Big Bash try to wait 2 overs before they take the surge and get themselves out playing a totally unnatural game. And what they're doing now, they're tailoring the game plan around his natural style. And they did a really, really good tactical move last game. They put Matthew Wade back down there, and that's where Wadey won the World Cup for us in the UAE. He plays really, and I think he's played his best cricket actually for Australia batting in that role. He's different to David. He can play the 360 game. He's got a lot of power. He reads the game well. So those two coming into the finals, watch out for them. I think those two, Wade and Tim David, will have the biggest impact on the final series.
You heard it here first on Willow Talk with Bradley Haddin. And a reminder, as we're recording before the Sixers play the Strikers. It's must win for Adelaide. Thursday sees the Canes back in action against Brisbane Heat. The Sydney Smash on Friday, dare say sellout there for that one. Saturday, Renegades Heat, then Scorchers Strikers back-to-back, and Sunday Stars Hurricanes, which could decide if the Stars season if the Heat drop a game. How many on the Fox Cricket roster are you on for all of that, Hads?
Yeah,
you got a game every night, or you got a night off?
No, from tomorrow, I think I've got a game every night leading up to the finals. But I'm interested in the Sixers Strikers game. Tim Payne, one of the strikers to play a really upfront sort of aggressive game, and he started to lose a bit of cattle at the start of the tournament, but he's got some cattle back now. He's got his captain back Matty Short. So Short and Steve Smith going head-to-head on Adelaide Oval on a flat wicket. That's going to be something to watch. Excuse me.
Whoa. I hope you're not allergic to it. You're listening after that match has happened, Hads. So, okay, crystal ball bandit. Who scores more runs, Short or Smith? And the answer is known as everyone listens to this. But you've got to look into the future because we're recording before.
Well, I've been known to look in the future.
Yeah. Not with your tips.
Smith.
Steve Smith. Okay.
Yeah, Steve Smith's record over the last 18 months as an opener, he's as good as anyone in the world. He's changed the style of play in 2020. Steve Smith was a victim of being too good because we used to use him in the middle overs just to say, no matter what happens, can you just fix it? And he'd work the spin around. And that was your game plan. Steve Smith just fixed what...
He was like hire a hubby.
Yep. That's exactly what he was. And he was good enough to do it. He's a great team man. But now he's moved up the top of the order and started to play this explosive game. And the thing with Steve Smith, that's how he started his career. That's how he used to bat in grade cricket when he was an 18-year-old. He hits to all parts of the ground. He's unique in the way he can play. And we're just getting a sample size of what I think over the next 3 to 4 years we're going to see Steve Smith doing in franchise cricket.
Drinks break on Willow Talk. Back in a sec with a dramatic end to the second Women's Ashes one-dayer, which included one almighty brain explosion. So we'll go down that topic. And Sundries, bumper edition of Sundries, we're going to talk white jackets and also Max Verstappen, the F1 driver, trying to play cricket. Back in a sec. Had's Women's Ashes drama in Melbourne town on, what day was it? Tuesday. Really good game of cricket. Again, a low-scoring game of cricket, which was bloody entertaining. Australia bowled out for 180, losing 9 for 88 to England's spinners. But speaking of spinners, Alana King, who we're about to hear from, actually, about the art of leg spin bowling, 4 for 25 on a hat-trick, missed out on a hat-trick by a you-know-what, and just bowled beautifully and ripped through England until the dramatic end. Very dramatic end. So you said Had's game one could kind of really set the tone for a tour. I went the other way and thought England would be better for the run. And once again, you've been proven correct because England got beaten.
Well, I tell you what, how good is it? I'm excited about everything you just said there. Not in a weird way. All I'm excited about is Ashes.
Yep.
Win.
Yep.
Leg spinner. How good's the theatre there? And carnage at the end where England crumble under pressure. But
okay,
how good was King's 4 for? She deserved a hat-trick. The ball she bowled to get the hat-trick was too good. Perfect leg spinner.
So we'll get the captain on when she's finished with this series to talk about the art of keeping to a leg spinner. But when a leg spinner is bowling like that, do you know, in your short amount of time, keeping to Warney and also Stuart McGill, who put huge reps. A couple of those balls from Alana King, I thought her shoulder was going to pop out with the amount of work she was trying to get on the ball and the loop, and then bang, it hit off there. Just getting conditions to suit because the pitch was turning. But do you know when a leg spinner has given it a massive, massive rip and you basically have to stand at right angles all of a sudden as the keeper?
Well, the art of being a really good keeper is how well you stand up to the stump. So that's why we talk so much about Ian Healy. How he kept to Shane Warne in the golden era was absolutely. It was a pleasure to watch. And Gilly took over, and he did a wonderful job also to Warney. But it was how well they stood up to the stumps. But I was blessed in my career. I had Stuart McGill, and that was a making of me. No doubt about that, because you had to keep to Stuart McGill on day 3 and 4 on the SCG, and every ball was an event. Every ball you thought was going to come to you. So, and as a keeper, it's the best part of your job. It's absolutely a pleasure to be behind a great leg spinner, and that's what Healy would have been working with during this game. Every ball she would have thought she was going to get a wicket, and that's what makes it so exciting, not just to have a leg spinner in the team, but from a keeper's point of view, you're involved in every ball, and every ball you think you're going to play a part.
Yeah, absolutely. Alana King, every ball was definitely an event on Tuesday. down there in Melbourne. So Kim Garth, got to speak about her as well, 3 for 37, really good, as England were bowled out for 159. But this is the dramatic part of it. Annabelle Sutherland was taken out of the attack by bowling a second waist-high full toss of the third last over. Although the batter advanced, so who knows, she kind of moved down the pitch a bit. Yeah, it was tough, but anyway. So Talia McGrath comes on to bowl the last ball of that over, a free hit to Amy Jones on 47 not out. It's dropped in the deep, but the batters didn't run, thinking there was actually one more ball left in the over, exposing number 11, Lauren Bell. Megan Shute, probably the worst nightmare to get the ball in the second last over if you're English, gets the ball, clean bowled, match over. That felt like a rather large brain explosion to me. I don't know how you would sum that up, Hads.
Pressure. And this is the difference, and this is why players talk about playing in the marquee series. Different people react different under pressure. Some people, you think, oh, I don't know how he's going to go in an Ashes or a World Cup, respond unbelievably because they can simplify things when you're under pressure. And that was a perfect example of that there. That one, Jones needed to understand the rules. And you need to take, in those moments, just a little bit of time to yourself, maybe to go to the umpire if you're not quite sure, clarify what the rule is, and where they got muddled up then, they thought with the free hit they get another ball, but that's not the case. So what it did is it's only little details, but when you get put under pressure, things become fuzzy, and that's when your decision making can start to second guess, or you're a bit slow on the uptake, and that's exactly what they didn't get their detail right, and in the end, the number 11, Bell, was exposed and bowled out first ball. It was simple. It's just pressure does different things to people. And you talk about the first game where they dropped a lot of catches, England. This time now they've come up short with something that could have been avoided with just a little bit more detail. But I said at the start, and I'll say it again, I didn't think England would take a game off us in this white ball.
Okay. Well, 2 through 6. So one more one-dayer. And then 3 T20s, all of those matches worth 2 points. Australia lead 4-0 in the point system. The test match at the end of January at the MCG is worth 4 points. Might not get to that as far as the overall Ashes is concerned, the way things are going. Hads, before we move on, though, and we're going to hear from Alana King shortly, have you got a brain fart story? One that you've been involved with or seen with your own eyes? One that you were the beneficiary of, or you're on the receiving end?
My batting for 15 years. Is that where you want to go?
Don't be too harsh on yourself, Bradley.
Well, I
You're
tell
pretty
you,
good.
we had one in a Shield final, actually. We were lucky to win it. We were playing Queensland, and we were 4 down, and I think we needed 20 runs or around about that. And I got out. So, yeah, I got out. We needed 20 runs still. And
Playing
I went
a stupid
down.
shot?
Oh, no, it's probably a good ball, but if
A conventional, okay.
like top of off, quarter deep long on, you know how it is. I'm not quite sure how I got out, but so I went down, took my gear off, and I was about to sit there and watch the rest of the game unfold. Whack, 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 we win the game. We lost something like 5 for 4, and it came down to the last wicket. We needed 15 or 16, whatever the score was. And I thought, hang on a minute, we're gone. We've got McGill and Bracken out batting, and they tried to come off for bad light. And I said, no, stay on. We can't come back tomorrow. No one will sleep. Anyway, McGill, big drive, nicked it. I think Wade Seacombe dropped it, couldn't see it. It was too dark. And somehow McGill and Bracken got us over the line. But I started a collapse in the middle, and it was probably from a brain fade. But we got home to win the Shield. And the only reason I came up from the change room is because you're captain. I thought, I've got to say, boys, we've had a good year. We're a young squad. We've done everything right. Mate, they were just a bit too good. And because of the last game of the year, you got to... But I'm sitting there going, I've started this. But McGill and Bracken saved my bacon. I think we lost 4 for 1.
You would never hear the end of it from the Queensland mates if it went the other way. Anyway, let's now hear from Alana King. As mentioned, bowled beautifully in Melbourne on Tuesday. She sat down prior to the summer with producer Sam to talk leg spin bowling, the art of. this is great for aspiring leggies like producer Sam, those who can only bowl flippers like Hads, and those who can do none of the above but just love kinging like me. Here she is, and we'll be back with Sundries to finish the show.
Alana King, thanks for coming on Willow Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Sam Ferris here. Beers is over there behind the cameras.
Thank you.
He's a wicketkeeper, but thinks he's a leg spinner sometimes.
Spinner's best friend, wicket keepers. So
True that. So we're going to do a bit of a masterclass on leg spin bowling. You know a thing or two about that.
I might.
You might. Let's start off. Why leg spin? Why did you start bowling leg spin?
Funny one. My brother, I was always a medium pacer, as every kid starts off with.
Yep.
So sorry. Have I got leaves in my teeth?
Show me. Oh, you look all right.
Great.
Yeah.
Just coming off lunch.
There's a bit of falafel on this side. No.
Cut all this.
That's going in.
Yeah, so just medium pacer is obviously the easiest thing to pick up.
Yeah.
But then went into the off spin side of things.
Yeah.
And then one day my brother was like, why don't you just try leg spin? He did bowl a little bit when he was younger. He was just teaching me how to hold the ball and gave it a crack and pretty much never looked back.
The next question was, who taught you early doors? So it sounds like...
Yeah, my brother Mark.
Yeah.
He was the one. And then obviously once I got into the groove of things, I watched the great Shane Warne.
Yeah.
So he was the best at it. So didn't have to look too far in what to do and big inspiration to me.
Sure. Not saying your brother's not a professional coach, but who was the first person?
He wasn't.
Who's the first professional coach that really showed you the art of leg spin?
First professional coach. Ooh.
Did you have a sort of mentor? Was there a one-on-one, or was it all self-taught?
Like I didn't have a specific coach from an underage point of view, but as I went through the ranks, I was playing club cricket in Victoria, and I was playing for Dandenong. We had a few leg spinners there. Laura Croft, she was just a young kid who was enjoying bowling. We were playing for the Nongers, as we'd call it, and yeah, it was just us two bowling. We didn't really have anyone to teach us how to bowl leg spin. A few people who taught off spin kind of just was there to help with the mechanics of spin bowling, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I came across Bryce McGain, and who's a very good leg spinner.
Yes.
For Victoria as well. We had a chat, and he actually got me over to play for Paran. So I moved clubs, which was a big deal for me. I'm a pretty loyal person when it comes to. I'm a creature of habit, so I like my environment. But got to work with him a fair bit in my days at Paran. And then I got to work with some great coaches in the Victorian setup as well. Ken Davis was also another leg spinner.
Yep.
He did some work with Kristen Beams, and then I tagged along as well with her. So from there, it just kind of kept growing. I still was learning a lot about myself and everything like that. But now I've got a great mentor in Jim Higgs.
Yep.
Although I live in Perth, I still touch base with him, and he's been a great asset to me, a great mentor for me over the last few years. Love what he does and how he keeps challenging my thought process and how to keep getting better. But I've learnt a lot with Bo Casson being over in the West.
Yeah.
Although he's not a right-handed leggy, he's a left Chinaman, as they call him.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot in these last 4 years, and I've loved working with Cass. So, yeah, those are probably my mentors, as well as Beamsy, obviously, playing alongside with her.
Yeah. I mean, put Bo in a mirror. He's a right arm leggy.
Correct. Exactly right.
Before we get back to leg spin stuff, just on you switching clubs, how hard is that? How hard was that leaving a club in Melbourne, and is it like leaving a family?
Yeah. I think in the women's game, it's not really seen a lot, right? And I think the girls seem to have this real desire to be loyal, just because you don't want to move and fix what's not broken, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But obviously now that there's more opportunity, there's more leagues, there's a bit more money in the game. It's becoming all part of it, right? And no one really holds it against you. Whereas I think if you go back 5-10 years ago, maybe closer to 10, people would look at you a bit funny, being like, why are you moving? Like, we've made you this, or we've given you this opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think as the game's evolving, it's going to happen more, and it's going to be great for the game, right? So you're going to get the best players in the world moving around different teams, playing with different domestic players. It's going to be greater for the game.
So reading between the lines, you did it for the cash.
Not at Clubland, absolutely not. There was no cash at Clubland. I just did it to get the experience
with Bryce.
And
that's the next question. What did Bryce sort of teach you? What were some of his learnings?
He just more so he fixed my action a little bit. I bowled actually quite a bit to the men at Paran, which I never really did at Dandenong because we weren't affiliated to the men's club at that stage. But he pretty much encouraged me to bowl to the men, and I was a bit reluctant because I didn't think my skills were up to that scratch. And obviously just bowling to men, they're going to hit the ball a lot harder. And they're obviously harder to bowl to. They're quicker on their feet. They bowl with a different ball, but I had to bring my 142 gram turf ball to training. But yeah, I was a bit reluctant at the start, but I always loved the challenge of playing with the boys, even from a younger age. I only had the option to play with the boys, and I think that fast-tracked my development. So then the opportunity to bowl to men at Paran was also a big development phase for me as well. So yeah, Bryce also helped me from a tactical point of view and a technical point of view, and just making sure alignment was all going well. And yeah, he instilled a lot of great things for me.
Great. Tell us some of the skills, I guess subset skills of leg spin bowling that you really need to master. For example, is it grip, release point, pivot on that front foot? What are your technical cues? Probably a better question.
I think it's a mixture of all. I think leg spin is the hardest art of bowling.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be biased.
Definitely.
So I think to be good at it, you've got to be consistent, and I think that's where, like, Shane Warne separated himself from the rest. I think people tried to pick up leg spin and thought, we'll just give it a crack. But between him and Stuart McGill, I think they were probably the best leg spinners across world cricket. I thought Stuart McGill probably, if he was born in a different era, he would have played a lot more or taken a lot more wickets for Australia. But Warney was just a 1 in a million or billion to come through. And I think what made him so good was how consistent he was in just landing his stock ball. He had plenty of tricks. And obviously, as he became the player he was and the cricketer he was, he started to play with the batters' minds and let them know what he's going to bowl or what he's got in his arsenal. But I think the hardest thing is to become consistent, and that comes to this, like, your alignment, where you release the ball. So it happens with all of that. You pivot off your front foot. Where's your weight shifting? I continue to work at that because I don't think once you become consistent, I don't think it stops. You want to keep evolving your game, especially in the women's game. It's getting a lot faster paced. Girls there's bigger scores. Girls are hitting to different parts of the ground. Shorter format cricket's played a lot more prominently around the world. So yeah, if you can nail your consistency, you got to keep evolving on different tactics to different batters. But I think that's the hardest thing to become consistent at.
Warney, I had all the Warney DVDs, had the Incredible with all you put your fingers on little different bits of colour on the ball. His was the 2 up, 2 down. So he said that he would spin it with his ring finger.
Yep.
Is that how you go about it?
Very much the exact same. So he, again, I had a clinic with him when I was maybe 12 at the MCG in Dornets, and it was a school holidays clinic, and I was lucky to be one of the few kids who was there. And all he said to me, well, all I can remember really, was spin it hard and do it with a smile on your face.
Right.
He showed us a few technical things, but...
Is the smile technical part of it?
Smile is
you
all
drag
part
it down
of
if you're frowning.
Yeah, correct. No, I think those, like, I don't remember too much from a technical point of view what he taught, but I think he read the room, and 12-year-olds aren't going to really understand technical side of things. He just wanted to make people have fun, and leg spin is a lot of fun. Yes, there's some shit days, long days that you know it's not coming out right or it doesn't feel right, and you could be feeling $100 million at training, and then something just goes wrong in a game. So there's plenty of days that are are not great, but the days that you're on and you get the reward for your hard work, it definitely pays off. And that's where the smile comes, because if you're not laughing, you're crying, and I'd rather laugh than cry. So
when the skipper tosses you the ball and says, "Righto, Lana, your turn to have a bowl," you're at the top of your mark. What's going through your head?
I'm obviously excited to get the ball in my hand. Maybe I'm quite energised, which is sometimes I might need to be reminded just to take a deep breath. And Midge is great at that. She'll know when I'm a bit too highly aroused, or whether good or bad, and she'll settle me down. But I've got great people around me. Whoever's probably at mid-on or mid-off, or even at cover or mid-wicket, I'll bowl a few balls to them just to make sure it's fizzing out how I want it to, and then I'm ready to go. And I try be as calm as I can to make sure that first ball, I'm feeling it fizz out.
Setting up a batter, how much does tactics play into what you're doing? T20 so fast, but are you at the top of your mark thinking, righto, I've got the next 4 balls planned out, know what I'm going to do?
Like yes and no, again, depending when you're bowling to the batter and what stage they're in, or what stage the game is in, or what the situation's going to dictate how you bowl, right? But I'm just trying to make sure my first ball that I try release is it's just fizzing out. I want it to fizz out, and I want it to feel really nice and smooth. It might take a few balls to get to that nice place. Obviously, the shorter format, the less time you have.
Yep.
But I'm just trying to spin it big, and make sure I'm feeling that rip off my middle finger, my ring finger.
Talk us through your variations. What do you got in your arsenal?
My toppy, I think I've developed that really well. Obviously, moving to WA and the whacker, bowling at the whacker a lot more. Bit of bounce. Got told very frequently that, gee, spinners aren't very successful at the whacker. Warney wasn't successful. I'm like, geez, he still took wickets.
I think he was all right.
I think he was all right. He might not have been as great at SCG, where it spun big, but
he had a great record at the Gabba.
Yeah.
Another fast, bouncy seamer-friendly wicket.
So, again, spending time with Cass and understanding what the whacker does and how differently I had to bowl, I thought, right, how can I use this bounce to my advantage? I'm not a tall person. You get some really tall spinners who have natural bounce. I don't. So I developed the toppy a lot more when I moved over west, because I'm like, this is going to be great because I'm going to get extra bounce in T20 cricket especially. It's just another, get some top edges or get them snicked behind because they're whatever it is. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm trying a few things. The wrong end comes out but doesn't come out. I'm not really fussed, and I don't get caught up in bowling a wrong end, to be honest. I think some people do. They're like, if you're a leg spinner, you've got to have a wrong end. You don't, I don't think, as long as you're challenging both edges off the bat. And I think that's what I've helped develop over the last 4 years, I would say. Obviously, since moving there, I've changed a lot as a cricketer and as a leg spinner as well since moving west.
Got a flipper?
Yeah, again, trying. Again, I have...
So hard. I still don't know how to do it.
I know how to do it, but it's just... I've got very small hands.
So is it this way or is it flick it out?
Yeah, it's both, right? Yeah. I've got very small hands as a person in general, so I'm trying to have make sure when the ball is sitting in my hand that it's locked and loaded. I don't want to feel loose because I don't feel like I have a lot of control. I want to be nice and relaxed, but I want the ball to fit really snug into my hand. Some spinners do have bigger hands. Pardon me. Teammate Ash Gardner, she bowls off spin, but she has big hands and she's got big fingers, which helps her get that. The way she bowls off spin is a very traditional way of off spin, like how Nathan Lyon bowls.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm not blessed in the big hands department.
Ash, I'm so jealous of you. You've got massive hands.
She's got good buckets as well. She catches some
does.
Unbelievable balls in the outfield. So, mate, they're multi-use.
Yeah. Leg spinners, got a couple in the squad. Well, you and Georgia Wareham mainly. What's it like playing with another leggy?
It's great.
Yeah.
I really like playing with Wolfie because I think we bowl the same thing, but I think we bowl very differently.
Yeah.
I
bit
think
like Warney and McGill.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's just like fast bowlers, right? Everyone talks about...
That's a good point.
Like, they only talk about the spinners when there's like, there's 2 leg spinners or there's 2 off spinners in the team, but they still picked 4 fast bowlers.
And they're all right-handed.
Yeah, correct, right?
Yeah.
So it's different in itself. Wolfie bowls maybe a touch slower than me. I bowl a little bit quicker into the wicket. So we offer different things, and our modes of dismissals could be different. But I still think we can still fit in the same 11, and we've shown that we can do on multiple occasions. So I really like bowling with her. We talk a bit of leg spin as well, and it's just always nice to see what they're doing. And I'm not going to really try copy what she does, because I don't think we don't do that. Like we are the leg spinners we are because we're so different. And I think she's got her strengths, I've got my strengths, and I'm not going to try outdo her in what she can do, because I think it's going to take away from what I can do, and vice versa. So, I'll never understand how when people be like, they've picked 2 leg spinners in the same team, how's this going to happen? We work fine together. We offer different... we can bowl at different phases of the game, and I'd love to hear when they say, they've picked 4 fast bowlers who all ball right arm. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Last one for you. Put yourself back in Warney's shoes. You're teaching a bunch of 12-year-olds. He passed on some words of wisdom. What would you pass on to the next crop?
Wow. Well, he took my line. Spin it hard and do it with a big smile on your face. Yeah. But I think, obviously, cricket's a lot more accessible to kids these days. So they've got not just watching it on TV or YouTube. They've got Instagram Reels and TikTok and Twitter and stuff like that. So they can be a bit more exposed to technical stuff a little bit earlier, because I think it can help fast track them. Maybe one thing is making sure that you have energy through the crease.
Okay.
We don't come off of 25 metres, 18 metres, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're coming off very short, so making sure that you make the most of what you've got, and you've got plenty of energy at the crease.
Sounds good. Beersy, take note. Energy through the crease. Alana King, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great chat with a great cricketer. We're going to push on now with Sundries Hads. Jimmy Anderson is playing on. He signed a 1-year deal with Lancashire to play in the County Championship and T20 Blast. Jimmy's last T20 was in August 2014. This guy, just like Benjamin Button, just doesn't know when to quit.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this with Jimmy Anderson. When he left the Test team, he obviously wasn't ready to go. He was still bowling well. His body's in great nick, so he thought, why not? Why not go and help Lancashire for a season? I'm still can give enough to the game. What about if there's 3 or 4 injuries at the end of that summer, and Anderson's got 70 wickets at 15, and they're just about to pick an Ashes squad?
Okay. You're not ruling it out?
He still wants to play. He's still got the drive to play. And if he's playing county cricket and things, they lose a couple of players, maybe we'll see Jimmy Anderson out here one last time.
Never know. Well, speaking of county cricket, Warwickshire have got themselves a big unit from Tasmania as part of their playing roster for next season. The Slug, Bo Webster, he's head over there to become a Bear, based in Birmingham, Warwickshire, known as the Warwickshire Bears, and they've got on their hat they've got a little bear, which it's a weird little logo. It looks like a blindfolded bear, but anyway, it's the Slug and the Bear. Sounds like an English pub, but it's actually a combination you're going to see this English summer. He's going to play red ball cricket over there, T20 cricket over there from the start of May to the end of July. Perfect little prep. He'll be over there, get his eye in English conditions to take on South Africa in the middle of June at Lords in the World Test Championship Hads.
Well, at the start of the English summer, his bowling will be an absolute nightmare. I think the Slug is one of the perfect overseas players. He's outstanding with the bat. He bowls medium pace. And then when the game does start to pan out and he needs some spin, Slug comes on, he catches well. I think he's going to be a crowd favourite in the UK. And Warwickshire, Test venue also, they've got themselves a good one there.
Yeah, Warwickshire, obviously the famous home of Brian Lara when he when he knocked off that Levi's innings, 501 against, I'm going to say Durham. It was a bit flat, that wicket that day, or those days, I'd imagine. But, Warwickshire known for that and producing the odd good cricketer, and hopefully Bo Webster can improve over there. And, it'd be interesting to see how he goes. The PSL draft has been done. So this is the Pakistan T20 League that runs almost in conjunction with the IPL, April 8 to May 19. A few Aussies sold: Matt Short, Ben Dorshus, Riley Meredith off to Islamabad, Maxi Bryant to Peshawar, Sean Abbott, Quetta, David Warner, Karachi. So Davey Warner just collecting those tracksuits still. So these are the guys that, obviously no Pakistan players can play in the IPL. Obviously no Indian players can play anywhere but the IPL, but it's good to have options, and these guys are going to pick up a nice little earn playing T20 cricket. You've played there.
Yeah. What it's good for as well is guys like Matt Short, Max Bryant, for example. This is where Tim David started. Tim David started as a franchise player, just taking little contracts around the world, developed himself into an unbelievable power hitter, and now he's made a great career in India. You've seen him play for Australia. So this competition's a great taste for guys like Max Bryant to see where they're at on the international stage. And you got Riley Meredith the same. He's someone, definitely a player of interest, maybe even come the Ashes with the pace he's starting to bowl. Ben Dorshus he's been a bit of a gun for hire in this form of the game for some time. And David Warner's star power, Karachi, one of the biggest franchises over there in the PSL. To get David Warner, they'll go mad for him. They'll go absolutely mad for David Warner over there. And Matt Short to continue to develop his game on slow, low wickets. So it's good competition. The standard's high, and it's good some of the Aussie players get the opportunity to play in these tournaments.
Now, we spoke on a recent episode about Ashwin retiring mid-tour, and that was like the canary in the coal mine in terms of that's not a good sign that all things are going well. An experienced player bails mid-tour. This, to me, about the recent India visit to Australia, tells another story which doubles down on that. BCCI is set to ensure that all players ride on the team bus, which has not been the case in recent times. Family visits also set to be limited to 14 days on tours that are more than 45 days, and they can't visit in the first 2 weeks of the tour. Interesting. I have it on good authority that Virat Kohli basically came out with his own entourage. Security guard, a couple of nannies, maybe a chef, maybe his own physical guy as well. Now, obviously Virat can afford to do that because, he's on a good wicket, literally, and his earning capacity suggests that he is able to do that. It's no different to what a tennis player does, for instance. But that, I find, that they've made it public as well so soon after the Australia tour tells of an unhappy camp when that tour was happening in Australia, which can be a tough place to visit.
What it tells you is this is Gambia's team now. He's set some really clear standards and some really clear values that he wants the team to stand for. And little things when you're not going well in teams, they're the things that blow out to really big things. And riding on the team bus, for example, if you're winning everything, those little things you just sort of pass by. But Gambia's obviously come in and he set a new standard where he wants this Indian team to present. And Virat Kohli was no different when he took over the captaincy. He wanted a more athletic team. He wanted a team that would be able to be there competing for 5 days, and he wanted a physical presence, and he brought a lot of that sort of stuff into the team. So to me, we're starting to get to the bottom of how this tour went for India behind the scenes. And with all these little reactions, that there sounded like there was a lot of distractions off the field, and Gambia now has been in the job long enough. He's had a close look on home soil and away, and now he's setting a clear expectation on what it means and what he wants from the Indian cricket team.
Yeah, there's actually some reports that Gautam Gambhir's tenure will be re-evaluated after the Champions Trophy if it doesn't go to plan. His current contract runs through to the 2027 World Cup. Speaking of Champions Trophy, Hads, you must be dirty that you missed Australia's victory in this because you had the broken finger. I think Tim Payne went on the tour instead of you, and they ended up winning and getting the white jacket. Now, I was reminded by this when it got lobbed in the rundown by Sam Ferris that they're actually going to present these as well. This is to the winners of the Champions Trophy. which is not a secondary trophy. It's still fun to win. I mean, you see the photos of the guys, and it's a jacket that does look like it belongs in a Richie Benaud museum, let's be honest. It's very smart. You probably can't wear it out too much, but I'm sure Callum Ferguson, for instance, who's pictured in the trophy-winning celebrations, wears it to his favourite restaurant in Adelaide. But are you pissed off that you didn't get one of these?
No. Yes, I am, because Champions Trophy is actually a big event. I was injured a couple of times and didn't get the opportunity to play. World Cup events are obviously the pinnacle for the 50-over form of the game, but Champions Trophy is where you put the best teams together, and it's a great competition. And I remember Australia getting the Richie Benaud style jacket in South Africa, and being a bit jealous that I wasn't there to enjoy it. I would have enjoyed the night in it. I don't know if it would have come back the same colour, but I would have enjoyed the night of celebrations in it.
Is there one of those players? I don't know if you can remember the whole squad, but is there one of them that you reckon? Oh, I reckon on a social occasion he might have just dusted that off and worn it out.
Oh, mate, Fergie and Payne, definitely. They wouldn't have wore T-shirts underneath it. Fit lads. Mate, I remember talking about what you get presented when you win a tournament. I remember winning the Pura Cup, the Shield, and we got a cut-out piece of wood from your woodwork class and a little plaque stuck on it for winning the Shield. Never got a ring or anything like that. Still sitting in my office. I'll bring it in and show you, but it was a bit of cut-off bit of wood from Year 10 woodwork and the Shield. But
mate, we can compare the pair, because in 1990 in under-12s I won a trophy for Beacon Hill Youth Cricket Club, and it sounds like a very similar trophy that I got from down the road at JD Trophies.
Yeah, I'll bring it in. It's winning tournaments. These things are nice gestures. You get a ring and you put up in the office and wear them in reunions and things, and they're great. But winning events is more about the camaraderie, the teamwork, and in the change room afterwards and celebrations. But I tell you, I'll bring these Sheffield Shield blocks of wood in and we'll compare. I think you might be in front.
I thought when you said Pura Cup, you got rewarded a vat of milk or a cow or something that you could put in the backyard for your own supply. But
would have been more useful.
No, bring him in, Hats. Bring him in. Second last, Max Verstappen. There's a photo here on our rundown of him trying to play cricket. It's a Red Bull promo. They've got the Australian Grand Prix around the corner, of course. Hads, rate that technique from Max.
I just having a look at his technique. He's got a good bend over his front leg. He's very bottom hand dominant, which maybe is more of a 2020 style. Max would have grown up watching 2020 rather than the longer form. So, yeah, his leg side dominant. I like his technique. He's getting forward over his front leg. A good York would get rid of him because it's definitely not a straight bat. It's very horizontal bat. So he looks like he'd play well in the subcontinent where he could sweep it and use that technique to his advantage. But, yeah, everyone wants to be a cricketer.
I would say you're being very kind there. I would say, Max, stick to driving. Was there anyone that ever surprised you, Hads? Like in terms of another sport that went, whoa, hang on a minute, he's got a bit, or she's got a bit.
I tell you, Jonathan Brown. He was
Big Brownie, Brisbane Lions,
Big Brownie,
AFL player.
Yeah, he's a big left arm quick, and I actually remember we're getting ready for, I think it was a test match, and he came in to bowl. He had some good pace, and mate, he's a tough competitor on the field, Brownie. I'd imagine playing against him in cricket, it wouldn't take much to get him going a bit, and he'd use halfway down the wicket. But he was good. But every cricketer growing up in Australia wants to think they're a rugby player, AFL, league, wherever you come. And every other sport thinks they're a cricketer.
I've got a quick one. Tennis theme. A few years ago, I think I've told this story, but I'll tell it again because it is the Australian Open time. Roger Federer.
Yep.
You remember this story?
Tell me.
So Roger Federer played, he was so bored in a match at the Australian Open early rounds, he started playing 4 defensive shots on the baseline in between points. So I went straight to the ATP Tour guy, the media guy, and said, can we do a cricket thing with Roger Federer on his day off tomorrow? Because they used to do these little shoots, little colour stories and things. Little beknown to me, at the exact same time, Mark Howard, who was also working on the coverage, ran to another guy from the ATP Tour and came up with the same idea. So they've come back and said, yeah, Roger will do it tomorrow at Crown on the tennis courts, but you guys have got to decide what you're doing. So we flipped a coin. I won the toss. Howie's face went upside down. Like he's usually a smiley guy, Howie. His smile went upside down, and I went off to bowl to Roger Federer within 3 balls, even though I taped one side of the ball. First ball, he had no idea. Like grip all over the place, like swinging sideways, everything. Third ball, bang, bang, bang. Started just cover driving, flicking through mid-wicket like he was Mark Waugh. Hand-eye coordination, incredible. So he could have been a cricketer, I reckon, Roger Federer.
The greats of the game, and you know what they talk about, yes, your hand-eye and everything like that, are great problem solvers. And like they talk about Steve Smith when he bats and he can change his technique, and you had Ricky Ponting and Clarks and Hayden and all the greats. But the best thing they had, they're really good problem solvers, and they can pick up things a lot quicker than others do. And Roger Federer, he's the great of world sport. And I'm not surprised at all. But okay, what sort of cricketer are you?
A poor one.
Would you squeal if you got hit in the ribs?
No, I'd be that far outside leg stump that I wouldn't get hit in the ribs. To clear that front foot and clear the back foot as well while I'm at it. That's my style.
I reckon Sam.
You want to get me in the nets, don't you?
Yeah. What's that,
Sammy?
Nah. Sammy, would you be a squealer if you got hit?
Mate, I'd be grunting on the ground. I'd be out.
The cricket ball is a great leveler.
Oh, yeah. It's
Mate, I'll tell you a funny story about sportsmen, actually. It was Matt Dunning, I think Adam Fryer.
Rugby player.
Yeah, and Phil Waugh.
Yeah,
3 of them.
CEO of Rugby Australia.
Yeah, they're having a hit when you used to train at the same spot in at the cricket ground. Had the bowler machine up, and I think it was Dunning or Waugh batting. I'm not sure, Vice. And they'd put the ball, and just before the ball had come out, they just go and push it as a beanball and hit them in the thigh. And they go, "Oh, that's a good one. You got me." And I remember sitting there watching, mate. These boys have no pain threshold whatsoever, mate. They just took it. Phil Waugh was actually a really good keeper. He was. He's a
no
good
brains either.
Yeah, mate. Well, that makes sense for wicket keepers. So he might have fitted in Warry well. But mate, they were on the bowler machine. They used to get down there all the time and absolutely whack it. And then they'd crank it up without the other one knowing it's a big in swinger. You could just imagine the coach walking in thinking, they're going to break their toes and things. But, mate, half their weight sessions, we shared the same gym, they were on the bowling machine. Waugh hit it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the name for it, so, yeah. Anyway, no relation. And finally, has just a quick one. Australia A team to face England Lions later this month has been named. Jack Edwards will captain. Xavier Bartlett, Brendan Doggett, Fergus O'Neill, Corey Roccaccioli, friend of the show. In the bowling attack, Aaron Hardy, Curtis Patterson, Josh Philippi, and Will Sutherland, some of the other names involved. So pretty good standard side. The game starts January 30 at Cricket Central in Sydney. So, it'd be interesting to have a look at England Lions because there might be some options that England are looking at for the Ashes next year as well. We'll stay across that. Hads, that's us for Willow Talk this week. You were going to say one more thing?
Freddie Flintoff's young boy is in that team. He only played a couple of first-class games, and I seen his
16.
name. Yeah. He's, do we have another Super Fred?
Hope not, for Australia's sake.
Well, good entertainment.
For cricket's sake, though, it'll be good. Hads, take it easy, mate. Speak soon.
Living the dream.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.